My first day, I went to the corner of the office and I took my laptop and I punched into Google, what do CEOs do?
Natalie Ruiz went from temp to CEO at AnswerConnect. She now leads a 2,000-person global business across the US, UK, and Canada, proving that humility, empathy, and resilience can scale a company.
When they started in the early days of a job, you gave direct feedback to the founder, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was day 2. And so when he asked me how it was going, I told him it's not going well, and he's a great listener, so he asked probing questions, and I went through everything.
In this episode, Natalie shares how she overcame imposter syndrome, scaled AnswerConnect globally, why putting people first still wins in an AI-driven world, and what it really takes to lead under pressure.
I hope that I'm remembered as somebody who left things better than I found them.
Hey everyone, welcome to today's show. Today we have Natalie Ruiz, who went from temp to CEO at AnswerConnect, now leading a 2,000-person global business, serving SMBs across the US, UK, and Canada. What started as a call answering service is now a full-service customer experience platform. In this episode, we will talk about Natalie, how she scaled the company, stayed committed, and also putting human first service in an AI-driven world, and why leading with empathy still works. Let's get into it. Natalie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Excellent. Natalie, let's start from the beginning, right? You started at AnswerConnect as a temp. What did you see or say in those early days that sets you apart from everyone else?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think, longevity helps, right? I'm about to celebrate almost 20 years with the company. I started as a temp to hire. I thought this would be just a job, something short term. And I honestly was looking for something easy, I thought. So that, okay, I can do this. It'll be very simple. And then I'll figure out my next step. What I found was a company that was very much in the startup phase. And what made a difference for me is I found leaders who were willing to listen, even to somebody like me, a temp who didn't have an impressive resume and didn't know a lot, but had some insights. We iterated really quickly. I was invited into conversations, as were the folks around me. And I started seeing incremental change. That was exciting. I've had a job for almost my whole life. And so often it's kind of like you're separated into the doers. We hired you just to do this thing, just stick and do that, leave the thinking and the change management to us. And that just wasn't the case here at Answer.
Awesome. And talk to me. Most people, when they started in the early days of a job, you gave direct feedback to the founder, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Okay. Yes. You got it correct. Okay. So I think it was a day 2. And I will tell you.
Day 2. Okay.
2, because my first impression of the company was not good. It was chaotic. They didn't have onboarding. I actually didn't really understand what virtual reception and answering service even was. So I had some misgivings about why are we answering for all these hundreds of businesses? And why are we saying we're part of their office? I happened to run into the co-founder and then CEO in the hallway. And he asked me something super normal, like, how's it going? You're new, right? And one thing about me, I'm going to tell the truth. And so when he asked me how it was going, I told him. And I can't directly quote because it's been almost 2 decades, but my goodness, I think I said, it's not going well. And he's a great listener. So he asked probing questions. And I went through everything from, there was no sign on our building at that point. So I'd had a hard time finding it. And I didn't know where to put my things. And I didn't know where the break room was. And then no training. And what in the world is this business? And he received all of this. And then this was really the pivot point. He asked me if I'd be willing to help improve any of those things. And I've been outspoken for my whole life, but it doesn't always land with somebody who has influence and power to do something about your feedback. And that was strange. What was even more strange in a wonderful way is that there was pretty immediately a meeting based on some of my feedback, and they invited me to it. So they're talking about maybe putting a sign out front, maybe putting somebody at the front of the office. So when we have somebody walk in, they're greeted. And within my first week, I saw that change was possible. And then even more empowering that I could be part of change. I saw it really quickly. And that was from the co-founder, the CEO, and the people around. It was just baked into the culture from such an early place. And I think that's been our competitive advantage.
And, for the founder to actually listen to you, that says a lot about him and his leadership skills. What did you learn from him and how did that shape you? to
Oh my
who you are
goodness.
today?
I'm still learning from him, by the way. He's
Still,
one of the best mentors and advocates I've ever had. And I will say from personal experience and the experience of seeing, he'll find, talent or genius in unexpected places, right?
right.
Unexpected temp without a business degree, without all of this background, still some gems of truth. He's also very, very patient, which is not one of my strongest traits. And so over the years, I'm trying to become more patient. And I would say that the final thing that has really helped me grow, and I think helped others grow around, is he'll let you try things. He'll let you experiment. Even if he thinks/believes that maybe it's not going to be a home run,
Right.
within guardrails, there's some opportunity for experimentation, which is really the best way to learn. And I've learned so many things that way. I'm not here in this role because every idea I've ever had is a great one.
Well, that's very humble of you to say that. So you joined as a temp. How many years has it been since you've been a CEO now?
I am at my 10-year mark being CEO of AnswerConnect.
Wow. Okay. And talk to me, I mean, what was your first day as CEO really like? I mean, what changed the moment you stepped into that role?
My goodness. Okay. So I will tell you first, when the discussions about me becoming CEO were happening, even though I'd worked at the company for 9 years and had done a lot of things, suddenly I had this flood of, I think they call it imposter syndrome. I was, what is going on? What does this mean, etc. But if you're given a chance to have a seat on a rocket ship, I think you just say yes. So I said yes. I boldly did that. The email went out, the title change went out. And my first day, I thought, oh, and I went to the corner of the office and I took my laptop and I kind of angled it so nobody could see. And I punched into Google, what do CEOs do? I had this impression that I had to do something really, really different than what I'd been doing. Now, the good news is I found a definition that landed with me, and that was that CEOs are responsible for the health of the organization.
Yes.
And in customer success, in sales leadership, in people development, all the things I'd been working on for close to a decade had been funneling towards that point. And so I really felt like the role of CEO was the all access pass to keep doing what I was doing, but at a higher level. Ultimately, it was my responsibility to make sure that we stayed on that path. But yeah, my first day, it was bumpy. It took me a while to settle into really owning that responsibility and owning that position.
Any funny moments from that you remember?
Well, I think Googling what I'm supposed to do is a funny moment. I'm probably not the only person who's ever done that. I think a couple of other, it's funny now, is I had a really hard time saying my title. I felt like it was so fancy. It was so big, I'm just me. And so I would go to an event or a conference or a trade show where we were presenting, and I had been really comfortable in so many of the other positions. But when I would go to say my title, I'd stumble a bit. And so I had to actually practice it until I felt it.
Got it. Now, why Natalie Ruiz? I mean, as CEO, your founders would have seen, must have met a lot of people. So what were you doing right leading up to the CEO title change?
That's a good question. I think I've always been a hard worker. I've always been committed to learning. I know that I can get better today than I was yesterday. I try to be humble, and I try to stay connected to the things that I'm asking the folks on my team to do. I never want to stop getting my hands dirty, talking to customers, talking to prospects, understanding what's really going on. But I do think that there were lots of opportunities for me to lead teams and departments and initiatives, and a lot of them had good results. And so I think that evidence probably helped with their confidence.
That's amazing. And I think a lot of big organizations, they prefer someone to rise through the ranks because then they understand the culture of the business. Absolutely. And you've been around now for a decade as a CEO. What changes have you led across that time?
Oh, goodness. 10 years is a long time. In the last 10 years, I have to get my time machine, we've expanded to the UK. We've expanded to Canada. We've continued expanding across the United States with our hiring. So we've become more of a global organization. Technology has only gotten stronger. And so that's helped us to be more robust in our basic service offerings, which is virtual reception and answering service, but also in the tools and the software that we offer our clients. And so I've had the opportunity to be part of so much of that expansion when it comes to product services and then our footprint as far as employees go and clientele.
Got it. Expanding to new markets? I mean, obviously, even going from one part of US to the other side, cultural differences in a way, but definitely UK, there is that change, right? You're coming to a European side of it.
Yes.
So, talk to me what kind of challenges you faced when going global.
So it's so humbling to go into a new market. And I will say that I have so many opportunities to continue to be humbled and stay humble. We thought UK, easy peasy, right? We're English speaking countries. We've got the same verticals. We're just going to copy paste. And I think, are you coming to us live today from London? So you know this. It's not copy and paste. Culture is different. Business culture is different. Decision making is different. Things move at a different pace. There's just so many different factors. And so I think, first of all, the learnings were that it's not copy and paste, even if many, many things are similar. We also learned that having folks with boots on the ground really helped. Coming in as an American thinking that we know what we're doing, we're going to miss things and we're not even going to know what we're missing. And by the way, we thought we learned that when we went into the UK, and then we had to learn it again when we went into Canada. Right. Yeah, exactly. So some of these things are harder to learn.
Yes. Oh, no, very good. And so cultural differences, you managed to, now you'll have local teams in country within UK and Canada, right? And how do you maintain, I mean, let's talk about what are the values of AnswerConnect and how do you maintain that globally?
Yeah, so this is a big topic that I'm passionate about is how do you have a strong company culture when you're at a distance? How do you have a strong company culture when you stretch across not only the US, which is vast, but also into literal other countries? I think you do need to have a strong set of core values. And our top core value is that the right people make all the difference. So when you have the right people, the great news is you can empower them, you can trust them, you can believe them. Now, culturally, we are about learning, sharing, and giving back. We're committed to lifelong learning. That's embedded into our culture. And actually, we put our budget where our value is, and our full-time employees, they get paid learning time. And we expect that their learning is part of their job. And it's not just like job training, it's things that they're interested in. It's nonfiction reads, it's TED Talks, it's big concepts. And that kind of levels all of us up collectively. We try to share what we know. And so small thing, but big thing. So if we're learning, we set up environments. So short meetings where folks can talk about what they're learning. They can talk about a book that they recently read. We've also got hobby groups and employee resource groups and interest groups. So people globally are coming together because they all like running, or they're really into a show that's on, or they love health and fitness. So that helps. And I think we're unified by wanting to play this infinite game, to quote Simon Sinek. We want to do work that matters beyond when we're going to be here. And we've managed to find a lot of the right people who are passionate and empowered and motivated by that at a global scale. I think that helps as the guardrails.
I love it. Love it. And talk to me about, your identity first. How did that change, right? And also when you, for the company, moving from a local business to now a global business.
My personal identity? Well, I think if you talk to my family or friends, they'll say I've been the exact same person since I was like 5. So I was a very weird kid. So just know that. I do think that when you're in a position with a lot of influence, with a lot of privilege, with a lot of power, you have to step into it. So I mentioned I had felt a little bit squeamish about my title or even saying it. And there's no time for that. I'm in a privileged place with a lot of influence, with a lot of power. Suddenly this title unlocks access to certain rooms and certain events. And so I had to just step into it. And I think that was a part of my identity. There's no time to be worrying that I don't belong or I'm not good enough. You just have to show up, keep learning, and work hard. So I think that was a pivot in my personal identity. For our company, I think as we scaled and we got larger, so many aspects have been the same. So many aspects have been kind of core threads. But when you get bigger, you have to be a lot more intentional about it. It's not happening just through osmosis. It's not happening just through who's in the office. And so that meant that we had to grow up a little bit, right? We had to come up with a set of core values, not just think we all kind of knew. And culture is so important. It might actually be the most important. And a lot of times when you think of culture, you're thinking of the fun stuff and the good feeling stuff. And I love that. But in order to have a strong culture, you also have to be resolute about what isn't okay, what doesn't happen here, what we don't do. And you really have to stand up for that.
Love it. And because people play a major part in your company, how important is that when hiring? And what is your kind of hiring process when it comes to that?
Recruiting and hiring talent in general is I think the most important aspect. People, the right people make all the difference. And it's also really time consuming. And I remember I've read so many books on this, how could you speed it up, make it easier? You have to just do it. You have to do it. So we have an amazing internal recruiting team. We sometimes partner with external folks if we have a particular role that we might struggle with. But I think the key is that company culture, what's okay, what's not okay, who are we, who do we want to be, who can add to this, who's going to challenge us in the best possible way, really looking for that, also looking for core skills. And we do all of this virtually, so at a distance. And we were, in a lot of ways, pioneers for that, for doing virtual interviews, we do video recordings of interviews so that hiring managers can also see what we're seeing. And we move pretty quick. We also do training at a distance. And for us, this is common and kind of old hat, but it's still pretty radical for a lot of organizations.
Love it. And when it comes to your employer, the workforce, you're investing in people. You mentioned about training. Apart from the training that you need to have on answering a phone,
Sure.
what is the other training that y'all are focused on for employees? I mean, you did mention about having those Slack channels or whichever channels are there based on groups and interests. But
we have a learning culture, so of course, you're going to need to learn how to do the nuts, bolts, and logistics of the job, and so that is very structured and amazing, and we're constantly pouring into that. Beyond that, we have ongoing learning, so company-wide ongoing learning, and that'll be on a variety of things. It'll be on leadership, it'll be on communication, it'll be on our products and services, it'll be on new tech, it might be on an idea, it might be on, we're passionate about planting trees, we're passionate about our planet, we're passionate about these themes that are going to impact all of us. And so we pump that learning out to our workforce. And again, we've got time for it. So they're busy doing X, Y, and Z. And 30 minutes a day, we want them to also learn this, share their takeaways, and that adds to the collective conversation about what we're up to.
And so talk to me as a leader, when you're under pressure, how do you step up and lead, and what does this team look up when the way you're leading?
So pressure is good. I don't think thrive as humans if we always got to be in a hammock on a beach drinking coconut water. So pressure can really distill us and bring out the best. And I think that in my role and in really any leadership role, you need to be calm on the outside. Your team's looking to you for guidance and how to be. And so you need to not only say the words, but exemplify it in how you act. So I think it's about consistently showing up. One of the skills that I think leaders and definitely CEOs need to keep developing is their communication skills, especially with a workforce at a distance. There's so many different touch points for communication. There's chat, there's video, there's conversations like this, there's email, which I hate, but some people, you need it and you like it. There's newsletters, there's all of these things, and people are busy. So you probably have to use all of them. So especially if something is going on that is intense or serious or a pivot or a change, that communication is so key in how you bring people along, how they buy into a change, how they step up to an ask. And so it's really paramount.
Got it. And what's your favorite way of communicating to your people?
If I had a choice, I'd do this all day long. You get more from it. I can see your face and we have all of the inflection. Now, it doesn't scale super well. So I try to employ all of them. I use a lot of chat. I use a lot of video. I use a lot of these types of calls. Email is my least favorite. And please don't email me.
Got it. And now, talking about your clients or your customers, what are the top 3 reasons they come to AnswerConnect rather than your competition?
Yeah. Well, so first of all, our clients, like almost everybody else, they're crazy busy. Right? They're crazy busy. They're wearing a ton of hats, and they come to us because they care about how their prospects and their customers are treated. And they come to us because they care. So there's a lot of choices out there on what to do with your phone calls or your web chats or how to have appointments scheduled. And certainly we're living in an age where folks are saying that AI agents can do this. I have a lot of thoughts on that, but our clients come to us because they do care, because they want that human connection. Again, going back to the right people make all the difference. And I've always said this. I worked in sales and folks would ask me the same question. Why AnswerConnect? Because our people make a difference. People who care about your caller, people who care about getting it right, people who care about ensuring that we're doing the things that you asked, and quite frankly, can sound like an extension of their office. It's not this jarring experience like who in the world are you? They think they're talking to somebody who's right there because we've built the information out, we've trained our associates, and they are invested in doing a really great job.
Got it. Okay. So how old is the average workforce, or how young is the average workforce, given that this is quite a...
You know what's amazing is that it's a wide expanse. And it seems over the last 20 years, it changes a little bit. There was a time when we had a lot of really young, really green, fresh folks. It was maybe their first professional, first office job. And we still get some of that. And it's amazing, right? It's a great way to wade in and start learning about business and learning about all of our clientele. We also get folks who are at varying stages, have a remote workforce predominantly. We're 24/7, 365, and we've got a dynamic scheduling tool. So that allows people to pick the shifts that work for them, which means we also are a really great solution for parents, for folks who are in school, for folks who are taking care of aging parents of their own, and all the other different mixes. So our workforce is, I think, as varied as you could imagine, especially when you throw in that it's global and it's remote and it's 24/7. We've got all kinds.
I love it. And now let's circle back to AI, right? Machine learning. So AI agents, now I'm interviewing someone called Guardian of AI Agents. Talk to me about you're going exactly, or you're staying still the same, not to talk to me why and what's the rationale behind that.
Okay, so there's some nuance to this because I'm not trying to be a laggard when it comes to tech, and we aren't. We've always loved technology. We've always leaned in, and we partner with the biggest, best tech partners so that we can have a very strong foundation, have amazing uptime, be super fast, super accurate, etc. And we've taken a hard line and said we want to keep humans at the forefront of what we're doing. We don't dream of a future when you can't tell if you're talking to a person or a bot. And focusing just on our business and not the whole existential aspect of this, we know that we handle calls. Certainly we handle some amazing calls, right? Folks are calling in to schedule a birthday party at an event center for their kid, and this is a delight. We also handle really hard calls. We work with attorneys. We work with healthcare professionals. We work with hospice and funeral homes. We work with restoration. So people are calling in when a storm has destroyed their home. You really do need to care. You need to meet that caller with some true empathy, with some real connection, walk them through what's going to be a tough process to get the repairs in order, not to mention all of the other things. Hardly anybody ever calls their attorney on the best day of their lives, right? And so we want to keep it human and we want to keep it real. And I think people matter, fully on Team Human. And we're going to use tech, and we're even going to use AI on the back end to make things more efficient and more fast, and keep exploring and learning about that. But that's our stance. We don't want to swap in AI for people. We like people.
Awesome. So you're 30 years old, right? Where do you see yourself 30 years from now with the industry?
My answer to this, and it doesn't matter, in the last 20 years, what are your goals? Where do you want to be in 5 years? First, you have to survive. That's step one. And, survival is one part. Well, I don't know. Don't make me do fractions, but it's at least one part, not doing anything really dumb. Okay. And then it's another part. It's just avoid the really dumb things. And that's going to get you ahead of some. And then you need to do a couple of things right. And the couple of things right have varied and changed over the years. We were really early to remote work. We started doing that in 2007. The COVID-19 pandemic threw a lot of businesses into the deep end, needing to figure out how to scale. Considering businesses like ours for the first time, we needed to step up to that challenge. And that's a whole other podcast. And now I think doing some of the right things is finding the right way to work with technology, to work with the changing appetites of our clientele, and to keep showing up for our employees in the best way. So first you survive, and then you do enough of the right things that you can thrive. And in 30 years, I still want to be helping small businesses. I still want to be making positive impacts. I want to be doing work that matters.
When it comes to the SMBs, I mean, give us a flavor as to you're more focused on the small side of it, the medium side of business. Spread equally where they deserve.
It's probably pretty equal. There's a lot of small. There's
Right.
a lot of small, under 10. And they're wearing every hat you could imagine. And so we come in and we really, really help. We also work with, at a corporate level, we might work with a whole franchise system. So individually, each franchise is maybe a husband and wife team, but they're part of a bigger picture. And we have a few gigantic clients and we love them too. But we're really steeped in the small and mid-sized business range.
Got it. And just for the audience out here, can you give a flavor of what kind of services you'll offer the SMBs out here?
Yeah, absolutely. So the core and the historical, bedrock has been ensuring that every phone call gets answered. It never goes to voicemail. It doesn't go to a bot by a live professional person. So handling inbound phone calls, we can do outbound as well, scheduling appointments, triage, escalation, really on that phone side. We also can handle web chats. And so when folks are visiting a website and they're wanting to do kind of the same things, learn about your business, set up an appointment, they have a problem that needs to be escalated, we step in there. And we provide tech tools to make sure that our clients can access and stay connected to their business from anywhere. Mobile apps, desktop apps function a lot like a CRM so that they can manage and communicate with their teams about what needs to happen.
Got it. And then speaking about all that, when it comes to back to the AI piece of it, right? What kind of things are you all doing internally as an organization, and what way are you seeing success around that? I mean, AI is going to be there, right? So
sure.
Get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, again, there's a lot of nuance to this because I think we are all using these tools every day in some way, right? So we continue to test them, and we test through our big partners. We also test on our own, keeping humans at the forefront and helping to summarize messages or summarize calls, for example, for our clients to see if that would be faster, if that would be better. Would they prefer to get a summary of the entire call rather than a message that we type out? We are testing out some ways that we could QA more calls. We've been doing this 100% human. And, for every agent, you can do how many calls per week for them. If the system could give us aggregate data, we'd still keep humans in there, but we could listen for themes. And I think that could be a better picture. And then delivering things faster for our clients. I remember how long it takes to build an app. I know how long it takes to build a website. I know how long it takes, and that world has changed. These AI tools are changing everything. So we're learning about that. We're seeing what we might want to offer to these small business clients. Again, they're crazy busy. And if they can have a partner like AnswerConnect who can say, I noticed you don't have a website, or I noticed your website isn't optimized, or what about your marketing? What about your web leads? I think we can step up and help them in those ways because we've got the experience, the expertise, and more the tools.
Love it. And can you share what's the biggest investment you made in tech, which has kind of bombed out rather than been successful?
Well, just like I say, the right people make all the difference. I think the right partners make all the difference. And so without naming any names, we have tested out other tech partners. Sometimes maybe it's a little bit of, annual savings, or maybe it's something new that's coming up on the scene. And you find out that they actually can't scale, or the bottom falls out of their organization, or maybe it was more of than a reality. And those things are expensive when you've gone through a migration, you've gone through a setup, you've moved your teams to a new platform, and then it just doesn't add up.
Got it. No, it makes sense. So okay. And again, coming back to you, Natalie, is how do you, what kind of advice would you give to CEOs who are trying to scale a business?
So I think strategy helps. You have to know where you're trying to go. Okay. So it's definitely worth thinking about. It's definitely worth planning and even long-term plans. And you have to be ready to pivot. There are things that we had on our roadmap that stayed for years and years longer than I thought it would. Like, we're going to do this year and this year and this year. And it just didn't happen. It was not the right time for varying reasons, right? The economic landscape was changing. Going into a new market, we didn't know enough, or we found hurdles. So things took a long time. And then there are other things that we're like, oh yeah, we're kind of interested, maybe someday. And then opportunity knocks and you have to jump. You have to take the leap. So, it's not that we want it to be chaotic or the Wild West. Know where you're trying to go. But again, I think that if you understand what your wheelhouse is and what your big why is, you'll recognize opportunities when they come up sooner and you can take the leap. And I would say also, don't be too hard on yourself if for good reason the thing that you were supposed to do this year just isn't going to happen, because you just keep going. Consistency is key. Keep marching towards it. Keep making small iterative steps and learning, and you'll get there.
Good. Never stopping. It's going forward. Yeah. Or fail forward, fail fast.
And on that note, part of failing forward and failing fast is being honest about when you have failed, right? Because especially as a leader, everybody else knows. You don't want to be the emperor without clothes, have everybody else knowing and waiting for you to say, don't sugarcoat it. Say, that didn't work. here's what we're going to do next. Here's what we learned.
Absolutely. And as a CEO of 2,000 strong workforce, what is your leadership style, or how do you describe your leadership style?
I always think it's interesting because how I describe it, I hope it's how others would describe. So I really hope that after folks get done meeting with me or working with me, they will say, no matter what kind of meeting it was, that they knew I was on their team. I was helpful. I gave them some great insights, and they knew that I was willing to work shoulder to shoulder with them. I try to be authentic. I try to be real. I try to be a really clear communicator. I think for high performance, you have to be clear. Clarity is kindness. So if something's working really well, express gratitude, be super thankful. And when something's going well, it is the team, it is the individual who is winning, and make sure that that is celebrated. If something's not going well, and I've had these moments, something's not going well, and my boss asks me, well, who's responsible for this? 100% of the time, do you know what the answer is? Me. It's me. If who failed here? Me. Never should it ever be anybody else. And I think that's really core. That helps build psychological safety. Your team knows that you have their back. And ultimately, it is me. If I have a bad idea, if I send the wrong person running up the mountain, if I don't give them the resources or the time or the coaching or the guidance, that is on me. And that's okay. We fail fast, we fail forward, and we're honest about it, but it's not their fault. That's an opportunity for me to be a better leader for them.
I love that. I love that when you said the buck stops at you, and not the exact words, but the other words. Wow, no, that's good. And talk to me, who's part of your inner circle?
What do you mean? So I get to work with some of the best people. So I've got a direct report team who I would say are in my inner circle, because again, I'm not trying to hold back secrets. I'm trying to make sure they know where we're going, because they're going to have a lot of influence. So at work, my inner circle is my immediate team, certainly my boss, the co-founder of the company. Also, a shout out to my director of people, because I lean on her really hard for all kinds of things, and she's kept me out of trouble for many, many years. And then I have an amazing family. I have great friends. I've got mentors, and I've even got virtual mentors. Mentorship is one of these things that I think can sometimes be misunderstood. You just go like knock on somebody's door and propose marriage to them, like, hey, you want to mentor me? And it can be very odd. When I became CEO, I knew that I wanted to learn how to emulate the role, how to be a little bit better than I did. And so I created a virtual lineup of powerful women who were in big roles who I liked aspects of. And this isn't to say anyone's perfect. There's no perfect. But gosh, my lineup consists and has consisted of Indra Nooyi. She's one of my professional heroes, just amazing. And she's so humble. She's always well-spoken. She's unflappable. And I just have learned so much from reading her books and watching her interviews and taking her master classes. Sarah Blakely, the inventor of Spanx. I think, I love her take on failure. I love her take on innovation. And I love her take on, how doing something when you don't actually know how to do it could actually be a superpower. And I could go on and on, but yeah. So my inner circle consists of real, actual humans who I've met. And then, people who are in my bookshelves and in my ear and in the podcasts.
I love it. I always, when I speak to, CEOs, founders, I always want to understand what is the kind of, the physical fitness, how do they stay physically fit, and also their mental fitness. So let's start off with the physical fitness side. Talk to me about how do you stay physically fit to operate at this level, at a high performing level? It's
so funny that you ask this and that you always ask it, because it is true. You actually do have to take care of yourself. I wish that I could sit on the couch and eat Doritos and feel amazing, but I don't. So going for at least an hour-long walk every single day is something that has to be a non-negotiable for me. Getting, kind of a sweat-inducing workout always makes me feel well, and it helps me think more clearly, reduces stress. So I try to get that in there too. Eating well is also important. I mentioned Doritos. I love them. They don't love me, right? There's a book, How Not to Die. Yeah, there's a book, How Not to Die, by, I believe, Dr. Greger. Just the biggest component to not dying early is eating well. And when I read that book, I immediately got in the car and I went to the store and I bought broccoli and berries and more of and because I was like, you know these things, but are you actually eating them every day? So yeah, you've got to take care of your body so that you can show up well, and so that you can think clearly, and so that you're fueled up. And so that you have to treat it like a non-negotiable. Otherwise you'll push it down the road. There's never time. Mental fitness. I've baked in lifelong learning as a habit. And so you will find me listening to an audiobook, taking a course, listening to a podcast every day. It's what I listen to in the car, much to my kids' dismay. It's what I listen to when I'm folding laundry. That hour-long walk usually has something like that in my ear. And I just think that if you aren't still learning, you're growing stagnant. You also, it's really easy to get into an echo chamber when it comes to learning.
Yes.
And so the sharing aspect of learning within our organization invites us all to challenge what we're thinking, to listen to voices that we might not otherwise pick, to read books that might not be our cup of tea. And that really helps too. I think that helps with fitness. It's like with physical fitness, you have to do things that kind of shock your body. And with mental fitness, you have to do the same with your brain.
Love it. Love it. And are you a morning person? You have a morning routine? What's your kind of structure looking like? You play it long?
You know, given the choices, I think I'm more of a morning person. I start to malfunction too late at night. Not my best. I have to have a morning routine. I get to work from home a lot of the time. When I first started working from home, only my first day, but it was worth talking about because it was terrible. Even in my role, I had this idea. I was like, ooh, this is going to be great. My first meeting's not until 8 a.m. Getting up at 7:45. And it was like the worst day ever. Because normally I'd be driving to the office, which meant I had 3 hours lead time of getting up, having some coffee, listening to a podcast, checking my calendar, mentally preparing. So I have to do all of those things. And I've got dogs, so I need to walk them. That gets me some fresh air. I've got to get a little bit of food. I've got to get some caffeine. Ideally, I get some movement. All of these things help me be ready for the day.
Love it. What's the best book you've read so far, or you could recommend for CEOs listening into this show? Oh my gosh.
You know, Simac, I listen to a book every week. So this is really hard for me to pick the best book I've ever read, but maybe a book for CEOs. Okay. I mentioned Indra Nooyi. So I'm going to say her book, My Life in Full. I'm a big fan of hers, and her book just solidified my, fandom. It talks about her journey. She talks about her professional life, a bit of her personal life, how she did it all. And her humility and her gratitude just continues to shine through. But there are so many books. A couple of years ago, I read 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman.
Okay.
And this changed. So for anybody who's busy, we're all trying to figure out ways to be more productive, right? We set 20-minute timers. We fill our calendar. Who knows what you're doing? We've probably all done a lot of these same things. And Oliver Burkeman wrote this book. 4,000 weeks is the average lifespan if you do the math. And I don't have, according to that math, 4,000 more weeks ahead of me. So it really hit hard. Some people think this book is morbid because I was really passionate about recommending it. But when you think about how quickly a week passes, you blink and it's Friday, and you blink and it's Friday again, and you blink and it's Friday again. No matter how many productivity hacks you employ, you don't get more time. You have to prioritize. And I do think for me, that book was super impactful. I had to start being really intentional about what I said yes to. And I had to get better at saying no to things. And I want to say yes to everything. I want to do everything. And you just can't, not well, at least. And if I'm at the park with my daughter, then I should be there. And if I'm replying to one of my teammates, or if I'm on a call with them, I should be fully present there and make the most of the time that I have.
Oh, I love that. I made a note of the book 4,000 Weeks. I'm going to read that out there. Yeah, I love that. What would you like to be remembered for?
I hope that I'm remembered as somebody who left things better than I found them.
Great. Interesting. How are the kind of values and learnings that I think you mentioned your kids, what do you instill? How do you follow? What kind of values you push into them based on everything you've just told us?
We want our kids to be good humans. And I'm super happy to say it looks like we're on the right track with my kids. But I think that you model it. Kids, they kind of hear what you say, right? It gets in at some percentage, but they really see what you do and who you are. And so I think modeling that, whether it's taking care of your body, it's getting some exercise, it's treating people with kindness, it's making a learning habit, it's doing hard things. I think they see that. We also, as they've gotten older, there's opportunities to talk with them about that. What's happening? Why is this happening? I work from home, so they hear some of it, especially during summer break. And now as they're older, we have more opportunity to talk through some of what's going on, or why are you jumping on this plane? Why are you showing up for that thing? Why this? Why are you not coming to my baseball game? Well, here's why. And then when you do get to show up for a game, I think there's a little bit more appreciation these days than maybe just it being the default in earlier times.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it when you say, they look up to you. My daughter looks up to me every time I make a bowl of Doritos out there. So it's like, what's next for you on this journey of yours?
You know what's next? I'm going to be here and I'm going to be doing this. I've never had a boring day at work here. So, if it ever got boring, maybe I'd have to think about something. I've never had a boring day at work. I've never finished learning, and everything keeps changing. So I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep trying to learn, trying to make positive impacts, and trying to do good in the world of our employees and our clientele. That's what's next and ongoing for me.
Love it. Natalie, thank you very much. That's a pod. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure.